Children who may have been born with a syndrome, terminal illness, profound cognitive impairment, or serious psychiatric problems could very well be struggling with learning disabilities, food allergies, developmental delays, or panic attacks. These children with special needs may include speech impairments and hinder them to make a connection with the world around them. With the help of speech pathologists, experts who study and treat speech and language problems, these children just may find their voice here on Dynamic Living the Total You.
Welcome to Dynamic Living the Total You, dear viewers and radio listeners. We are once again here giving you information as well as inspiring messages. And today, we are very much honored to have with us our speech pathologists in our episode, Potentials and Pains of the Profession, Speech Pathology. And so magandang araw po sa aking mga guests. I have here Miss Eileen Zaraga from Core Skills. Magandang araw sa iyo, Miss Eileen.
Magandang umaga, Dr. Jean.
Okay. And what about you, Worthy Habla from Therabilities? Magandang araw din po.
Magandang araw din po, Dr.
Okay. And kami po ay nagpapasalamat because you are now willing to share what are the potentials and the pains of your profession. Unahin ko po what is speech pathology, Miss Eileen?
Yeah, a speech pathologist or a speech language pathologist is a professional primarily involved with optimizing communication and swallowing.
So pag sinabi mong communication and swallowing, ibig sabihin noon yung ability ng isang tao upang makapag-communicate or makapagsalita or maiparating kung ano yung gusto niya, maiparating sa kanyang kapwa.
Correct. Yan. Communication is the big umbrella of speech and language.
What about Worthy? Yes, you want to add something about your profession?
Well, speech pathologists or speech language pathologists, as Eileen mentioned, work to assess, treat, manage, and diagnose communication disorders. That includes speech, language, swallowing. Sometimes we also do oral rehabilitation, like those who are hearing impaired. And we cater to almost every population.
Ibig sabihin noon, Worthy, bata, matanda,
yes,
binata, dalaga, kahit sino pala pwedeng hawakan ninyo.
Yes.
Kasi parang ang nasa isipan ng tao, pag sinabi mong speech pathologist, yung kaniyang hinahawakan ay karamihan ay mga special children. Hindi ganun yun, di ba? So sa experience ninyong dalawa, maunan mo na si Worthy, mas marami bang pasyente na nakakarating sa center ninyo o nahahawakan mo na mas mga bata or mas may edad?
Mostly, since our center is a pediatric center, so most of the clients that come in are pediatric patients, so mga bata po talaga. But sometimes, some friends or relatives or some even in our network of speech pathologists, we ask for if there are referrals to do home care for adults or adults na stroke or sometimes mga may voice disorder. So we cater to them as well.
Yung sa inyo naman, Miss Eileen, mga kabataan din?
Yes, primarily children talaga. Kasi the referral system, and it's easier to see if there's speech and language difficulty with children.
Kaysa matanda?
Yes.
Sinong mas madaling alagaan or sinong mas madaling, to be matulungan na would be able to communicate, to their colleagues or sa mga magulang o kaya sa mga kapwa nila? Yung mga bata ba or yung mga matatanda?
I think it depends on the
case.
Yes.
Pero yung mga nakikita mo at nahahawakan mo mga cases, usually, Miss Eileen, let's just talk about in general before we go to the more specific. Usually, anong mga kaso ito?
For children, it's really more of speech and language delay. And for adults, what we usually see are individuals who had stroke.
Ganun din ba sa'yo, Wardy?
Yes.
Pag sinabi ninyong speech and developmental delay, ano-ano ang ibig sabihin nito?
When we say speech and developmental delay, those are kids or children who are not, most of them would be observed as not talking properly, not understood properly, and we have this, what we call, developmental milestones. So some parents would see na ay parang when they compare it with the same age na mga bata, parang bakit yung anak ko he or she is not talking the same way as this one. So doon nila nakikita na merong developmental merong delay. Yes.
Pero usually ba anong age group ito sila na nakikita ninyo sa center? Let's start with Wardy.
For us in the center, as early as 2 and a half, mga ganyan. And then my oldest is, I think, 21, 22.
Na nandyan na cater mo at natulungan mo. What about you, Miss Eileen?
Usually they come around 2 or 3 years old. It's really for early intervention kasi that's when the parents see that there's something wrong. My child is not yet talking, and then that's when they see us.
Usually, are the parents the ones who bring the child sa inyo, or na-notice nila yon, or they've been to other specialists? Like, let's talk about your team muna. So before we tackle specifically on your practice, mauuna na, ang usual na mga pasyente nakikita ninyo, nire-refer ba sa inyo, or dumidiretso yung magulang sa inyo?
Actually, it's half and half. And usually, when the parent has noticed delays with the child, it's not just speech and language. So they go directly to the pediatrician or to the deathbed, and then the referrals come to us. Or there are some parents who notice just the speech and language delay, and they can go directly to us.
What about sa inyo, Wardy? Ganun din?
Yes, ganun din po. Most of the time, referrals from the developmental pediatricians. But there are cases that the parents would come to us directly. So pupunta talaga sila sa amin, they will contact us and ask for assessment and then therapy.
So you also assess pala the child or the adult who are being referred sa inyo. Hindi yung ibig sabihin na pagpunta sa inyo may bit-bit na siyang referral, ganun na lang. Does it mean na bawat isang sakit na pag-uusapan natin mamaya has a very specific or has its own way of management or therapy?
Yes, most of our management or all of our management are individualized. So there's no like this is the problem and this is what we do. Wala po kaming ganon. Because as we all know, language is dynamic, it's changing. So we cannot really gauge kung alin specifically yung pinaka problem of a child. So we do an assessment to find out what are the problems of the child, and then after that we create a program for them. So individualized. That's why we tell the parents if you have relatives or friends who also have the same condition or similar condition, you cannot pattern it after your child. Kasi
mahilig pa naman ang Pilipino na gumaya-gaya, di ba? Kumbaga si kapitbahay o si kaibigan ko may anak na kagaya nung akin. Kung ano yung ginagawa nila, ganun na lang din yung sa akin. So you tell them straight that. O kasi alam mo, hindi that's very good na you said na there's a specific treatment plan for each kind of child. Hindi necessarily because of that condition, no? Parang you do a battery of tests ba, Miss Eileen?
Yes, definitely. When a child comes for an evaluation, we do not just assess one area. So we assess different areas of speech and communication, and with those different areas, we use a different battery of tests.
So magkakaiba lahat yun. So kunyari, kahit na pareho sila 5 students, 5 cases, or 5 children who have almost similar problems, they have different treatment plans. Usually, ang treatment plan ba na ito ay how long does it take? Kasi mamaya-maya will be more definite, no, with these particular disorders. Pero in general, again, we're talking about generalities. Usually, does it mean na kung madadala sa center ninyo, it takes them years or months, or it's just a 1 week thing?
You cannot predict really how fast or how long the therapy would take. It's really depending on the child's ability to learn. And from there, usually a program would be good for 3 to 6 months, and then we'll have a re-evaluation, and then we will make a new therapy plan from there.
So, kumbaga, it's a progressive thing.
Yes.
It's not something na iisa lang for the entire thing.
Yes. Actually, if I may add, it also depends on how the parents would do follow-ups at home. Yun yung pinaka-important aspect, because sometimes the child will just be scheduled with us for 1 hour in a week or 2 hours in a week, in the whole week, and that will not be enough for them to be stimulated or to learn a lot. So 1 hour is just a small part of the week.
The entire 24 hours.
Yes,
no?
even the entire 24 hours. So that's why we always give feedback at the end of each session, whether it's an assessment or a treatment session. We give feedback and tell the parents specifically, this is what you should do. So, and then you can do follow up this at home, there. And then also, we also encourage the parents to really be involved with their children, so that the therapy would really, kumbaga, it will really work. And with regards to the time frame, same with what Eileen said, after 6 months we do an re-evaluation, reassessment, and then we do another goal. And most of the time, it doesn't really take, it takes a long time. Kaya I have kids or students who are already 21, 22 years old, because we try to catch up with the changes in their lives. Kumbaga, sasabayan mo talaga yung pag-agos ng buhay niya, yung mga pagbabago. Like, especially when they go high school, the communication needs is different. When they go college, the communication needs is very different.
So meron pala talaga, worthy, na kahit na nagsimula sila early intervention, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang kanilang need for the therapy.
Yes, tuloy-tuloy pa din po. Because yun nga po, maraming pagbabago sa life. Even us, with us who don't have speech and language problems, we have different phases in our lives. So we also help them to cope with those.
Kaya ko tinanong yan, Miss Eileen, the misconception, di ba, na pag dinala sa center, pinaturuan at tinulungan yung bata, pagka medyo okay na siya, that would be the end of it, di ba?
Yeah, this is a common misconception kasi they usually relate it like to the medical field, na once you get this reseta, na kompleto mo yun, and then that would be done. But what's important to note is that if your child has a developmental delay, and once we get to achieve these goals for the 6 months, then we would have the next few 6 months of goals to target. Yun.
So continuous talaga
really
siya. It doesn't end there. No, pero sundan ko, worthy, yung sinabi mo ng involvement ng mga magulang. So let's talk muna about your practice. Unahin ko si Miss Eileen. How long have you been a speech pathologist?
I've been practicing for 8 years already.
Okay, what about you, worthy?
I've been practicing for 10 years.
Okay, kaya ko tinanong yung years of practice niyo. It's because I want you to tell us na in those 8 years and 10 years of your practice, which have you seen a rising number? Number one question, have you seen a rising number of children with special needs that need special help from you? Number two, have you also seen a more actively involved communication between the parents or involvement of the families? Let's start with Miss I.
Yes, and I think there's also the factor of more SPs are out there, so there's more awareness of what speech and language delay is. So mas marami rin pumapasok na referrals.
And what about you, Worthy?
Well, I would agree with her. And sometimes the referrals are very long. Mahaba po talaga yung pila. Because most
So
of us...
kahit sa inyo, pinipilahan ba kayo?
Yes.
Ang DevPid kasi pinipilahan.
Yes.
Takes them sometimes 6 months to a year before they get an appointment.
Yes, almost the same din po. Before we used to have, our line is like a year long. Because yun nga po, some of the kids would come to us and they will take a long time, ilang years sila sa amin. So the slots are really few. So may mga iba lang na some of them would leave or the parents would think na finished na yung therapy, so they would leave. So tsaka lang nagkaka-open ng slots. But the rise is very, kumbaga, madami po talaga. Yeah, and then what's good is that there are schools opening up that produces also produces also speech pathologists.
Kasi nung araw, iisa lang.
Yes, isa lang
di
po.
ba? Iisa lang talaga siya. Ngayon, parang 2 or 3 dito sa Metro Manila.
Yes.
Isa sa Visayas, no?
Sa
In
Cebu.
Cebu, there's one also. And yet, even that, despite the opening of schools to offer speech pathology, kulang na kulang pa rin.
Yes.
Kasi ramdam na ramdam yan, lalo na sa probinsya. Hindi ko alam dito sa Metro Manila. Do you feel that there is a need for more speech pathologists in this area?
Yes.
So, dapat dagdagan pa natin na. Let's talk about red flags. Red flags, meaning to say warning signals that will mean na kung ako ang magulang ngayon nanonood, nakikinig sa dynamic living, heto yung mga senyalis na dapat bantayan ko, na para masabi ko na kailangan yata ng tulong yung anak ko sa kanyang pananalita or sa kanyang pagkakaintindi sa salita.
For the usual red flags would be not responding to name calling, not being able to follow instructions, not being able to respond to simple questions.
At what age would that be, Miss Ai?
As early as a year old. Your infant, your baby should be able to respond to you when you call his or her name, or be able to follow simple instructions like, come here.
So, dapat na iano nila yun.
Yes.
So, pagka hindi nagawa yun ng bata, maybe the parent should not, kasi minsan worthy, ganito yan And it's a reality nasasabihin ng mga lola o kaya ng mga mas nakakatanda, ay hindi, kasi nung maliit pa ako, matagal talaga ako nagsalita. Yung kapitbahay ko nga, 5 taon bago nagsalita. So, okay lang yan, di ba?
Yeah, actually that's the reality. What we encounter, some parents would really reluctantly go to us because they believe that eventually magsasalita naman yung mga anak nila. But there are some signs kasi that you have to to look into to find out na ay kailangan talaga ng intervention, especially kung yung bata is like 5 years old, 4 years old na, and then still not talking. Then that's something that you have to worry about, because based on the milestones, by 1 year old you already have at least mga 50 words na naintindihan. Not depending on the literature, but yung name calling, that's one important aspect talaga. Name calling and then following some simple instructions.
Pero kasi 'di ba, ano yung sinasabi nila na when you do baby talk to a child na kahit na 1 year old or 2 years old or 3 years old, you do baby talking to them, it will actually help, parang it will promote the child from not really going and growing higher in the level of communication skills. Is there truth to that?
Yeah, what we usually advise is not to use baby talk.
Exactly.
Kasi what you're promoting is not proper language there. So even at 2 years old and below, you can talk to your babies in simple, grammatically correct sentences. Not
So,
baby talking.
Not baby talking, no? Kasi 'di ba yung mga magulang minsan ganyan So if I am a parent again and I hear and listen to you and you say na yun nga simple name calling, hindi nga makasunod, hindi nga nagsisimulang magsalita din, paano ang dapat gawin nila kagad? What would be your advice or your what would you tell these parents na who are watching or listening to us?
Well, initially you have to find out, you have to look first if you're giving your child enough interaction, enough attention. Some of us, especially with the rise of the tablets and the gadgets, mas na prefer ng parents to leave their children with a tablet or a cell phone, and then sasabihin nila it's an educational program naman, so I think it would be good. So ang tendency nun, the child would just be talking to a cell phone or a gadget, not a parent. Sometimes that would be a problem, that would be a cause for delay. So you have to figure out, is my child having too much screen time. And then after that, maybe you can increase your interaction with your children. Studies have shown that when a child learns better when interacting with an adult or when interacting with someone who will teach him or her how to talk properly.
Actually, studies also have shown, Miss Eileen, di ba? Kaya nga, the rising number of children who needs help, it's because also of the technology that we are in. Parang the boon and bane of technology. Eh, tingnan mo naman si Yaya. Iniwanan mo yung anak mo kay Yaya. Si Yaya masyadong busy nanonood ng television. Okay, maraming inaasikaso. Ilalagay si baby sa harapan ng TV at si TV ang kausap niya. Yes.
Yeah, what we point out to parents and to caregivers regarding the use of screen time is there's no communication with screen time. Yes, there can be input, pero walang communication doon.
So, kailangan mag-usap at kausapin si baby. So, heto ngayon. So, sino-sino ang mga partners ninyo when it comes to the management or therapy planning for the child?
Our team are usually the developmental pediatricians. We also work with the OTs and sometimes with the PTs depending on the case of the child. And if the child is in school, we also work with the teachers in school.
So sila lahat yan, kasama ninyo yan. So you get to interact with the team also regarding the therapy planning of the child?
Depends on, sometimes we, when we're in the same setting, like when we're in the same center, we directly interact with the OTs, with the occupational therapists and the physical therapists regarding the child. With the developmental pediatrician, sometimes we send the report to them, so that, and then we communicate via usually via a report. Sometimes they text us or call us, and there are times that we do conferences with the parent, with the therapists, with the teachers, and with the doctors. So, yun yung buong team.
Do you think na a child who is going through therapy with you, pwede na silang ibalik? Or when do you consider and advise the parents na pwede nang ibalik, like school children, di ba, who's going through therapy, pwede silang ibalik sa mainstream education or pwedeng sa special school lang sila dapat?
One marker that we usually see is if they can cope in the setting. I personally advise some of the parents to do it slowly, like start with a class of a small number of classmates, like 5 or 4, and then if the child can cope and has been adjusting it, has been well adjusted to the setting, then maybe you can try a better setup. Paunti-unti lang po, increments, para hindi siya masyadong nabibigla. And at the same time, mako-consider din natin yung pace ng bata kasi not everyone can go through the same pace. So, especially with children with communication difficulties, meron talagang magiging problem pag binigla mo sa mainstream agad or regular school agad.
Totoo yan, ano? Kasi they can be subjected to humiliation, to bullying, di ba? So, ina-advisean nyo talaga ang mga magulang niyan. Okay, let's start with, on a first day meeting with the parents kayo, how do you deal with the parents who are bringing their children to your center at sabihin sa'yo, Miss Eileen, we have a referral here and we want you to evaluate our child. So what does it look like?
Yeah, when the parents and the child come into our therapy clinics, the first session would usually be the assessment or the evaluation session. So we have them fill out the case history form and we also interview them and then have the child assessed with us. And sometimes if the child can attend with the parents inside the evaluation room, we can all be inside so that the parents can see what we are assessing and what the child's present skills are.
Do you have parents who don't really, actively involve themselves also in the planning and the therapy of their child?
Yes, there are a lot of parents, marami po talaga na they would just be there during the assessment, and then the rest of the sessions, hindi mo na sila makikita. Or sometimes, when they would be there, but when you give feedback, you can see that they're not really, sometimes they're not really concerned, or they're they have something else in mind that they would insist na hindi ganyan yung nangyayari sa bahay. So, something like that. So
In denial ba?
Some of them would be in denial. Like they would be saying, teacher, kaya pa ba siyang makapasok sa ganitong school na big school? Kaya pa bang makapasok sa ganitong school na mamahalin? So parang hindi fit with the current skills of the child. So personally, I get some of those parents who would do that.
What about you, Miss Eileen?
Yes, meron. And I think that's the reality of not just parents with children of special needs, but also every parent. They're really busy na.
So minsan kulang ng oras. Pero we've been talking about special children. What about adults like stroke patients? Usually, ano ang number one list ninyo sa adults naman na hinahandle ninyo?
For us, it would be stroke patients. We also handle traumatic brain injury, na-injury brain and then affected yung speech. Another one is voice therapy. We also do that, especially those who are with pathologies in the vocal cords. May mga problems with voice, so we also handle those.
What about you, Miss Eileen? Have you also seen these cases? And do you have patients like that too?
Not anymore now.
Kasi nasa mga
more
bata
pediatric
na kayo.
na po talaga
So
ako.
when we return, we'll take a very short break. And when we return, we'll now consider discussing about ano mga communication problems meron ang mga kabataan. O ano mga disorders na commonly na nakikita natin. Is it ADHD? Does it have to do with speech also? O kaya naman yung tinatawag nating mental retardation? O kaya naman yung globally delayed. No? So pag-iisa-isahin natin, hihimay-himayin natin, ano kaya ang pwedeng gawin natin sa kanila kung sakali sila ay nandoon na sa stage na yon. Please stay tuned.
I think they need the help of the experts kasi iba yung natutunan lang through the years kaysa dun sa talagang they really, in fact, yung mga experts nag-ano pa yan ng mga experiment. So, I think both magtulungan the experts at the same time yung mga teachers and parents. Kasi kuminsan ay sad to say that there are some parents na hindi naman educated. So, they maaring mag-fail sila sa kanilang gustong iparating sa ganung sitwasyon.
Para sa akin, they need, kasi kawawa ang mga bata, dapat ma-meet natin yung needs nila. Kasi hindi natin agad ito maibibigay just for hugging them or giving the things that we know na that magiging masaya sila. But they need also to act as a normal, parang matreat din sila as a normal, and they could also tell to themselves na meron silang magagawa. They could feel na they are already worthy, they are also worthy here in our place. At saka hindi tayo mahiya na maipapakilala sa kanila because may mga potentials sila na hindi pa natin na-check kasi hindi natin sila nadadala sa tamang nadadiagnose agad na ibibigay yung proper treatment for them.
Sa palagay ko mas maganda na ma-address ang mga bata na may kakailangan na may problema sa kanilang mental o physical man na development na matulungan ng mga expert upang sila ay maging mas maituwid o maitama ang kanilang pamumuhay upang sa pagdating ng tamang panahon, yung cognitive development nila o physical development man ay makaayon doon sa mga kabuhayan ng mga normal na bata.
Kailangan nila, kasi yun ay special case yun. Yung mga needs na normal na mga bata, kaya ibigay yun ng parents. Pero yung may special na needs sila, kaya nga sila tinawag na special, kailangan yung attention sa kanila, lalo na sa medical needs nila, ay bibigay talaga dapat ng experts.
Children who may have been born with a syndrome, terminal illness, profound cognitive impairment, or serious psychiatric problems could very well be struggling with learning disabilities, food allergies, developmental delays, or panic attacks. These children with special needs may include speech impairments and hinder them to make a connection with the world around them. With the help of speech pathologists, experts who study and treat speech and language problems, these children just may find their voice here on Dynamic Living the Total You.
Welcome back to Dynamic Living the Total You is our episode here, Potentials and Pains of the Profession, Speech Pathology. And so, andito pa po, kasama natin si Miss Eileen Zaraga from Core Skills and si Worthy Habla from Therabilities. So, balikan natin pinag-uusapan natin. Kanina, pang warm up pa lang yon. So, ngayon, we'll go into the meat and the substance of the episode. No? So, hetong mga commonly diagnosed disorders na nakikita ninyo, we'll start with speech delays and disorders. Ano ito? Paano malalaman ng mga magulang? And usually, ano ang therapy plan na ginagawa ninyo for this? Let's start with Miss Eileen.
Yes. With speech delays and disorders, the child will usually diagnosed after an evaluation. So kami yung mag-evaluate when it comes to speech delay and disorder. So this can involve speech sound disorders such as articulation or in phonology or motor speech disorders or apraxia.
Pag sinabi mo apraxia, ano ito?
Apraxia is difficulty with motor planning there. So the child will have difficulty on how to map and plan what he or she is going to say.
So hindi nagko-coordinate kung ano yung gusto niya dapat iparating, hindi nakakarating. Ganun ba yun, Worthy?
Yes, ganun po yun. Like for example, if you try to say, make them say a series of syllables, makikita natin na hindi consistent yung pag-produce nila. For example, if you say pa, na you ask them to say it 10 times, in between, makikita mo may changes bigla because they cannot plan properly how to produce the sound.
So, paano to pagka ganyan? What is the usual thing that you do for this kind of disorders?
Well, usually for these kinds of disorders, we give them more, most of the time we give them more practice, and we give them, pinaka-importante po is awareness of what is, how to produce it properly. So, we cannot, actually there are different ways actually of targeting those problems. May mga certificate programs na that we also take so that we can target them efficiently. But most of the time, what we do is we just ask them to do some work that would require them to recognize which one is the correct sound, which one is the wrong sound, and then after that, we ask them to practice with words and then with sentences.
How long does it take for this kind of disorders? I mean, for you to be able to produce a result na, kumbaga makikita mo, may improvement pala si baby or ang bata.
Like I said, it cannot be predicted,
yes.
But in a program of 3 to 6 months, if there is improvement there, then we move on to the next goals.
So continuous talaga siya, hindi yung iisa lang na 6 months maaayos niya na yung kanyang motor planning niya. So paano yun? Pagdating naman sa language, ano ibig sabihin natin ng pag-language na kailangang tulungan din ng speech pathologist?
I think with language, it's more about there's a lot of aspect of language actually. When it comes to language, we can deal with how they say the words. We can also deal with yun yung tinatawag natin na form, how they produce the words. And then we can also look at their content, how they understand words and perceive the world around them. And then another aspect of language is use, which is we also call it social communication or pragmatics, wherein how they interact, how they use the language that they know to interact with other people. So basically, kailangan maintindihan nila, mayroon silang enough na words na naiintindihan, and then may enough din na words na nasasabi, and then yung paano nila gamitin yung mga words na alam nila.
For a certain age group, di ba? Kasi like for example, for a 3-year-old, dapat heto yung alam niya paano at naipaparating niya. For a 5-year-old, heto din. For a 7-year-old, ganito din. So, sino sa kanila ang pinakamahirap, I mean, in terms of progress?
Actually, as she has mentioned, it depends upon the children. Marami pong factors kasi.
So let's talk about the factors that will help, or that will predict, prognosticate, and recovery. Let's start with siguro si Miss Eileen, and then susundan na lang ni Wordy kung ano yung kulang.
I think the number one factor would be the severity of the language delay or disorder. So if there's only minimal delay, then we could expect faster progress there. And also, number 2, follow up at home. Yun, like what Sir Worthy said, we only see them at most 3 hours or 3 sessions in a week at most. So,
marami na yung 3 hours na yun,
yes,
3 sessions, di ba? Kasi sa dami ng hinahawakan ninyo at kukonti lang kayo, kumbaga, sabi nyo nga yung pila masyadong mahaba. So, minsan isang session lang in a week, di ba, na-accommodate ang isang bata. Yes, Worthy?
Actually, totoo po yun. Most of the time, there are kids that may need, professionally, we can see na kailangan to twice a week or 3 times a week, but the slot is just for once a week. So, we cannot...
Hindi nyo rin pwedeng i-prioritize sila kasi nakita ninyo yung severity nila.
So that's usually part of the program planning. If the case is severe, then we would recommend increased sessions. Or at most, that would be 2 to 3 times.
Okay. Now, let's talk about heto namang fluency. Ano naman itong fluency disorders na ito?
With fluency disorders, it's almost similar to yung sinasabi natin kanina na apraxia. It could stem from motor planning difficulties. It could also stem from emotional. Most of the if we will notice, kasi diba, stuttering is common for everyone. It just so happens that it depends on the situation and the environment of the person. Like for example, if you're not a public speaker, once you're asked to talk in front, mas mag-stutter ka talaga. That's a normal occurrence. But there are some people who have kumbaga every time they talk, talagang nagsistutter po talaga sila. So that's one factor of a kind of fluency disorders.
Mas madali ba yan siya i-therapy, yung mga stuttering na ganyan, Miss Eileen?
I think it depends sa age range. Kasi number one factor would be awareness of the child that he or she is stuttering.
So hindi siya normal, di ba? So dapat mag-seek ng help. So kung maaga ang intervention niya, mas madali. Or hindi din? Si Worthy siguro. Ngumingiti si Miss Eileen
I think it depends then on the kind of stuttering. Kasi kung bata pa lang and then severe na, it would take time definitely. And then especially with awareness kasi, with awareness of your disorder comes consciousness. So when the child becomes conscious of his or her stuttering, ang tendency magwi-withdraw siya from the speaking entirely. So mas minsan nagiging difficult din siya actually. So it varies with the age and also with the kumbaga ano man tawag yung temperament nung child or nung person. Kung medyo positive siya and then he's willing to go for it, then mayroon tayong makikitang progress.
Meron tinatawag na voice and resonance disorders, diba? Ano ito?
This usually involves issues with nasality or pagkakaroon ng paralysis sa vocal cords.
Hoarseness, is that part of it?
Yes.
So kagaya yung mga public speakers, they do get hoarse. Like me, when I talk for longer periods of time, when I give lectures, when I talk to you guys, I develop this kind of, that's a disorder also. And there's a solution to that. What about etong mga swallowing? Do we get a lot of patients who have swallowing disorders?
Actually, with the current setup in the Philippines, hindi minsan natin pinapansin yung mga swallowing disorders.
Lalo pag mabilis kumain.
Yes.
Nilulunok na lang yung pagkain.
Ang iniisip po kasi natin, basta nakakain siya, okay na siya. But we have but us, we were trained to look at ano yung mga movements that would require them to really chew properly. At the same time, ano yung mga klase ng food that they can eat. Some kids or for kids, some of them, label natin sila na picky eater, mapili sa pagkain, maselan. Pero at the back of it, makikita natin, meron pala talaga silang feeding and swallowing disorders. And that's one thing that we also address.
What about cerebral palsy patients? Kasi we do get them also. Do you also handle this kind of patients?
Yes, we also handle those kinds of, with children with cerebral palsy. We also handle them with their language. Kasi when we talk about cerebral palsy, kumbaga marami po siyang possible na communication disorders. Pwedeng possible din yung language, hindi masyadong makaintindi ng words because syempre limited yung movements. With limited movements comes limited exploration and it affects limited learning. So another thing is with cerebral palsy, there is muscular problems like spasticity or flaccidity. So the musculature overall is also affected. So and speech is part muscular movements. So apektado din po talaga siya. Especially fine yung motors na fine muscles yung ginagamit natin. So kung yung movements niya, yung gross motor niya is may problem, affected, definitely affected din yung
So what are the best practices that parents can instill in their children, lalo-lalo na growing up children, in terms of the care of their communication skills? Let's start with Miss Eileen.
It's really filling up your home with language stimulation there. And not just language stimulation coming from the parent side, but also acknowledging that if your child is talking to you, you acknowledge those attempts as well.
Pag sinabi mong filling up the homes with, stimulations for language, ano ibig sabihin din natin to the parent na ina-address natin ngayon?
And what we usually advise is for them to give language stimulation techniques such as info talk. This is when you describe or you make stories about what your child is doing or what you're doing together.
So yun yung makaganda, hindi yung hahayaan mo lang yung gadget ang gumawa para doon sa kabataan mo. What about you, Herbie? What can you say, Paworthy, about in terms of stimulating these children so that they would be able to maximize the skills that they have even as a child?
I agree with Eileen. Language stimulation techniques, but if I may add, you also include yung eye contact. That's a very important. That's what we call joint attention. When children look at you for something that they want and they look at the object that they are looking at, kumbaga it's a shared environment, it's a shared space. Once you establish the eye contact with your child, and then you do while you're doing an activity together, you can make sure that there's a communication happening. Kailangan po ma-establish natin yon by interacting with the child directly. So nakakatulong po yun because the child would find interest na si mommy or daddy is interested in what I'm doing, and you're sending the message na I can help you with what you're doing and I can teach you more with what you're doing. So one important factor po yun is the eye contact. Malaking bagay po yun. And then at the same time, like what Eileen said, full of language stimulation all around. So everything would also, all the language stimulation would come from the parent, and the parent would also should also acknowledge, especially when the child is communicating, especially kapag hindi yung mga babbling na tinatawag natin, we should also acknowledge those attempts to communicate, even the pointing and the gestures and the facial expressions.
So wag natin silang babawalan, di ba? Kasi kung yun yung way of communicating nila, i-encourage natin yun, and maybe we can put the words there to what they're trying to communicate to us with. Yung sinabi mo kanina nakakatuwa, yung sabi mo na pag yung eye contact na yan, di ba karamihan ng mga mommies o kaya mga daddies, may ginagawa, nagsasalita si anak, busy-busy ka daw sa ginagawa mo. So there's no eye contact. Pero siguro tayo, mga magulang, lalo na yung mga magulang natin, kailangan tingnan din natin yung anak natin habang nagsasalita siya, di ba? Hindi yung sige lang ikaw naghihiwa doon kung anong ginagawa mo o kaya nagkukuting-ting and then nagsasalita, wala kang pakialam. That's a very good way of stimulating them to be able to relate to us, di ba? So, how do we try, for us, lalong-lalo na sa community natin, di ba? There's a stigma that is attached to children with special needs, even adults who cannot communicate properly. So, anong gusto mong maiparating sa community naman? Because later on, we'll talk about how should the family support this kind of needs of their children. So, ang komunidad muna tayo, Eileen.
I think there needs to be a change with how community thinks of speech and language disorders. It's here, and there's, and with the stigma, it just impedes on probably the improvement sana of the individual.
Kasi parang ano nila worthy speech disorders, delays, and parang they attach that to autism, they attach that to mental retardation, di ba? Should that be the thinking of the people?
I think we shouldn't be thinking about that. We cannot attach conditions with the delays or the disabilities of other people. Marami po kasing iba't ibang disability, iba't ibang disorder, and tayo, or especially those of us who know, are the only ones who can label and tell them na this is your disorder. Pero kami kasi, usually in our profession, we do not necessarily give labels agad-agad. What we encourage is the skills, that this is the skills that you're good at, and let's increase it. Pero sa community, we shouldn't make fun of them. Hindi dapat ginagamit na jokes yung mga words like, ay, autistic ka kasi, or something like that.
Yeah, right. Di ba naririnig natin, parang nililabel nila, kahit hindi naman totoo,
Yes.
parang ginagawang katawa-tawanan.
That's one thing that we need to change in our community. Yung making jokes with them, and pag yung gagawin natin silang point of the joke, actually, that's the worst thing, kasi it will hinder them from trying to achieve much. Magde-develop yun ng low self-esteem, and at the same time it will make them think na I'm ganito lang ako, I can't progress further.
What about the parents now and the family and the siblings na meron tayong nakitang may kapansanan o kaya naman may pagkukulang in terms of communication or speech ang ating mga kabataan? How should the family, think about it, Miss Eileen?
I think the biggest hurdle would be acceptance. Yes, but once you achieve that, you know that this is what your child is capable of doing, then we could move forward.
I think additional to that is you think of for parents, you think of your children as unique. Each one is unique. Sometimes kasi, one thing that usually happens then, when one child has a disorder or may kapansanan, mas lahat ng attention na pupunta doon, and then the other siblings get left behind. May mga ganun tayong instances. Or sometimes, it's the other way around. Like, nawawala yung focus with the disabled, the child with disability, and then mafo-focus lang dun sa mga anak na may kaya. So, let's look at the kids as equal with different skills and different capabilities and different needs. So, yun po yung one thing.
Is it really expensive to have a child go through therapy?
I would say so. Honestly say so.
Yeah, yung honest.
In reality,
in reality.
It really is.
And there's nothing we can do about that. Does the government have programs that will help? Like, for example, PhilHealth kasi, addresses problems like physical disabilities. So, kunyari, may high blood pressure ikaw, may diabetes mellitus, or when you get admitted, o kaya naman may mga gamot na binibigay ang government to help ease these, illnesses for these particular groups of patients. Sa atin ba, sa practice ninyo, or sa mga disorders ng mga kabataan natin, is there government help there? Is it covered by PhilHealth when they go see you for this?
I
Hindi.
would say not yet. Not yet.
But there is already an initiative.
In the previous association, may association po kasi kami, the previous association assembly, there was someone from PhilHealth who was talking about that. And I think they will be releasing that program sometime this year or next year. I'm not sure.
Yeah, kasi it would be a big help,
yes.
di ba, to the parents. Siguro that's one of the setbacks. Bakit hindi nila nahahanapan ng paraan na matulungan yung bata, di ba? So, ang tanong ko naman sa inyo let's talk on a personal level. Why did you take up speech pathology, Miss Eileen?
Actually, it's just really
By accident?
by accident. I didn't know what to put on the UPCAT for. And speech pathology looks
Good.
yeah. So there. But while I was in the program, it was really, ano ba?
Something
Ganda
that...
niya eh.
So,
It was
tinuloy-tuloy mo na.
challenging and you can help a lot of people. It's really a merge of compassion and intelligence.
I like that word you said. It's a combination of compassion and intelligence. Kasi doon tayo nagkukulang minsan. Meron tayong intelligence, wala naman tayong compassion. Meron tayong compassion, wala naman tayo noon. No? So it's a combination of both. Now, what about you?
For me, I would like to say it's God's leading in my life. I really don't know what
to
speech
write
pathology.
also.
Yes, I actually during my time kasi it was a nursing boom. So I want to write down nursing, and some of my friends would say, "Oh, tara, let's go to biology and let's be medical doctors after a while." So I also wrote that biology, but when I got the form, parang you cannot enter in those slots kasi puno na. And then here are the available slots na courses na may available slots. And I found out, speech pathology, it looks nice. So maybe I'll go for it. And then I tried it, and I was thinking maybe I could shift out after a while. I can shift out in a different program. But then I realized parang, ay, ang ganda dito. It's a job, a profession, and at the same time an advocacy, and at the same time it's a vocation. So you help out, and you're not just working, but you're also enjoying the work because you're dealing with people whom you see progress, you see changes, you see that they're improving, and it's good. It's a good profession.
What's the greatest fulfillment for you, Miss I, in your profession?
It's really seeing the children improve. Yan, and more than that, it's being involved with the family, and some of them even treat you like family because that's really how you see changes with the speech and language development. It's for you to be able to empower the families to communicate with their child.
What about you, Worthy?
The same thing with Eileen. The way you can see the changes with the children, the way you find that from saying nothing at all or just crying in front of you to conversing with you about the games that they play or how they excel in school. It's really fulfilling. It's really good.
Challenges. Let's talk about the challenges. Yeah. What about you? What's the greatest challenge for you when you deal with your profession?
I guess it's also the parents as well. Yeah, because when they come for us for the initial session, for the evaluation, they really come in with high hopes.
Yes.
And that's what we have to temper there.
What about you, Worthy?
I agree with Eileen. The parents are also part of the challenges. Some of them would also exhibit like, baka naman after 2 weeks or 3 weeks makakasalita na yan. But we have to remind them na it doesn't work that way. Hindi kami parang yun nga like na medical doctor na magician na after a while nagsasalita na siya. Hindi po siya ganon. Another challenge that we face is sometimes dealing with other therapists. Not really a challenge. Challenge lang naman po dun is yung distance. Sometimes their therapist, occupational therapist is in another center, or they have a different approach. So yun yung nagiging challenge. But not so much po as a parent. Another challenge I think I would have to mention this is may mga hindi, kumbaga, practicing as a speech therapist, but not really from
Speech pathologist.
speech pathologist, not a certified speech pathologist.
So meron din ganyan pala
Yes.
sa inyong practice na kumbaga they do therapy but they are not really certified to become speech pathologists. So what does it take to become a very, very good speech pathologist? Miss
Very, very
Eileen,
good.
Very good.
not just a speech pathologist but a very good one.
All right. It's really more of you as a clinician, or maybe not just as a clinician, being up to date with the best practices and not relying on your knowledge and skills alone, but also collaborating with the team, because that's really how you will improve your child's development.
I would agree with Eileen. And another thing that would make a very good, I think, would be yung heart. You really have to have a passion for this, for these individuals, for your patients, or for your kids, for the parents, for the team. You really have to invest your time and your energy in helping them. So it requires a lot of heart.
Okay. What does it? What do you envision speech pathology should be here in the Philippines in the next 5 or 10 years? Let's start with Miss Ai.
In the next 5 or 10 years, I hope there would be more speech pathologists, not just concentrated here in Metro Manila, but also
Scattered
the
all over the
Philippines is big.
Philippines.
Yes.
The same thing. I was once invited to do assessment as a itinerant speech pathologist in Davao, in Mindanao. I found out there's just 4 or 3 of them working, but that was a few years back, and after a few years, I discovered there's as much as 6 na po, dumadami siya, and we're hoping na dumami pa siya. And I think one thing that we're looking forward to 5 to 10 years from now would be yung regulation. Magkaroon po ng professional regulation for our profession, because there are others na who are imitating the practice and nasasayang, kawawa yung patient actually.
Yes, that's true. So what is your message now to our viewers, Miss Eileen?
That you can, if you have concerns with speech and language delay with your child, you can come directly to us and we are willing to help you.
Yes. What about Worthy?
I highly personally would suggest for parents who think their children have speech and language difficulties to seek help. You don't have to hide. You don't have to be ashamed, because for all you know, these kids or these kids have a lot of potential, a lot of possibilities that could happen to them, and they can reach heights that we also could reach.
Okay, maraming salamat sa inyong dalawa. I think we learned a lot from you, and I know and now I understand better what your profession is really like. Dear parents and viewers out there, we know that knowledge is empowerment, and when we know that our children needs intervention by giving in to early detection and by going and seeing the right people to help them out, as Worthy said, to reach the highest potentials that they have been given and should be given to this world, then let us give them the best that we can. Our support, our acceptance, and our love should always go hand in hand with everything that we can make for them to become better individuals. And even in Exodus 4:10, it says here that Moses said to the Lord, "Pardon your servant, Lord, for I am slow of speech and tongue." But God made a difference in the life of Moses. So let us also make a difference in the lives of our family members. Magandang araw po sa ating lahat.
Dynamic living, making the best of you on fire. Dynamic living, sharing the faith, we're giving the love and bringing the total you.
If you have been blessed by this program, share hope and help us continue to bring hope everywhere. Send your donations to South Philippine Union Conference through any of the bank details shown here. Hope Channel, sharing love, changing lives.